Hi there. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thanks. I'm just gonna pin this. There we go. I just
Okay,
want to
perfect.
pin our topics on the bottom so we can follow
Yeah.
along. So thanks so much for joining. I know you have a busy day, and for
Yeah.
those who are catching us live on the replay, we had to reshuffle our schedule today. Josephine needed to hop on a little bit earlier today. So here we are. So I will
Yeah.
save the replay for those who can't make it for the live.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about that. I just got some things messed up and I was like, "Oh no." But yeah.
Don't worry. Don't worry about
I'm
it.
so happy that you're so flexible.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. It all worked out great for me too. So here we
Great.
are. And thanks so much,
Yeah.
everybody, for joining. I see some folks coming in. It would be really cool if you would let us know where you are tuning in from. That's always nice to put that in the comment section. And also, please put your questions for Josephine down in the comment section, and she'll be happy to answer them. And so, meanwhile, we're going to get started. And so, Josephine, I just
Yeah.
want to thank you again for taking the time. And we're just going to jump right in.
Yeah, of course. I'm a little
No,
nervous.
no, don't be, please don't be.
I don't know. It's just always like,
Don't worry.
yeah.
You're not the first person to actually have a little bit of a, so don't worry about it.
Perfect.
So here we go. If you could start off, please, by telling us how your vegan journey started and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So I used to be a heavy meat eater actually. Um, and I was vegetarian a couple of times, but I was not really supported by it by anyone. So that I always like kind of fell out of that. And I didn't even really give veganism any thought at all. I had a vegan friend actually, but it's so funny when I think about it now because I never asked any question about her diet. I just like I didn't even think about it. It was like so weird. I was just in a completely different place.
Yeah.
Um, and then I went on a backpack trip to Canada where I saw a lot of beautiful nature and I got really into taking care of our climate and that kind of thing. And I went to this event where we saw this big documentary kind of thing, and it was about how like meat consumption is like affecting climate change so bad. And I was just shocked. I was like, what? I didn't even know that. I had no idea. Um, and that was in 2017, so it's 3 years ago now. And then very shortly after that, I moved to Berlin, which is a vegan paradise city.
Wow.
Um,
And
and
just
I was
just to clarify, is that in
yeah,
Denmark or somewhere else?
no, that's in Germany.
Germany.
Berlin in
Oh,
Germany. Yeah,
Berlin, Berlin. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, got you, got
I'm
you.
sorry,
Uh,
my Danish
no, no,
accent.
no, 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 no. Don't worry, don't worry. First of all,
Yeah.
I just want to say yes. I have heard that it's super awesome. Secondly, I was scheduled to go to Berlin. However, they had an airline strike. This
Oh,
was about, I want to say like 3 years ago. And so I couldn't get my flight. And by the time they were going to reschedule my flight, I would have missed the event I was going for. And I was like,
okay.
nah, nah, I'll just skip it. So I've heard wonderful things
Yeah.
about Berlin. So I just wanted to say that, shout out to Berlin there.
The biggest shout out. Like I lived in a very vegan friendly neighborhood and they had a vegan grocery store. They all the
Wow.
restaurants were almost vegan or had
Oh.
vegan options. And I was like, "Whoa, this is insane." Because at that time in Denmark there was almost nothing vegan at all. Um, and then I went to a trip to Denmark, and I actually think I just started saying, "Oh, everything I buy in my household is gonna be vegan." But when I eat out, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want to. That's kind of how it started. And then I talked to my friend who had been vegan at that time, and she was like, "Oh, I think we should go vegan on Monday." And I was like, "Sure." And then I've been vegan that Monday, and have been vegan ever since.
Oh my God, I love
Yeah,
that story.
yeah, that's pretty great. She didn't last though, but but I did, and I'm so happy about
Hopefully
that.
she'll hop back on, like some people,
Yeah,
like people just get derailed for whatever reason, and then,
yeah.
poof, you
There's
see them back on the journey again.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's my story.
No, and you know what I love? I think you were probably the first person to say that you started for environmental reasons. In other words, when you first heard about the environmental, impacts,
Mm-mm.
that was like very key for you in your mind, even though perhaps at that very moment, I understood that you probably didn't start your vegan journey at that very moment, but it kind of, put some light bulbs on for you.
Definitely. Yeah, the ethical aspect of veganism is not something I've really considered before I've been vegan for a couple of months, I think. I think I was just in denial. I was very early on when I was a teenager. I was like super much against fur coats, the fur industry, and it's kind of the same as like the meat
Oh
industry and
yeah.
dairy
Oh
industry.
yeah.
But I was super against that. But still, of course, ate meat and dairy. And then yeah, so I think I was just in denial about the ethics, and I just didn't knew that much. I just didn't knew anything because no one told me anything. So it's first when I started to do the research on my own, I was like, whoa, like you actually like get a cow pregnant and then you take the baby away from the cow so we can drink its milk. I was like shocked about that because I think I remember like being at some kind of field trip in school, and they like we had to like milk a cow, and they told us, oh, it's very good that we milk the cow because or it like hurts the cow if it has too much milk. So I just had this belief that cows constantly had milk in their, I don't know, cow breast.
In their udders or their breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
um,
gosh.
yeah, it's like, yeah, when you don't have anyone to tell you these things or you don't research it, you're just so ignorant and you just don't know anything.
Well, you're not the only one, and it's
No.
by design. It's by design
Yeah.
that the marketing folks, the profit folks, the business folks, the industry folks, they don't want us to know the truth. And I I,
Yeah.
I really applaud you for being so honest about what you said, that you felt like you were in denial, because to be honest, I recall seeing video or photos like activists posters kind of a thing, talking about the cruelty of the dairy industry, and I thought to
Yeah.
myself, this cannot be true. There is no way this can be
Yeah.
true. And
Yeah.
so I can relate to you, because I also feel somewhere I was in denial too, and it was just
Yeah.
ignorance. I just didn't do my research. I just thought, no way. There is
Definitely.
no way this can be true. So, and I didn't even know about, the insemination by force, all of that violence. I didn't even know about that part yet. So,
No.
I really applaud you for being so transparent, because so much of it is just hidden from us as well.
Yeah, and if you don't have any people in your, you know, any vegans, like how should you know? Because most people just do what they grew up to do and do what their parents do, and and there's nothing evil to that. It's just hard when you find out the truth,
It
and
is.
the people around you don't change. Like that's the worst part.
It is. It is. And we'll get to that part too.
Yeah.
So I think you answered a little bit of our next topic. And what I wanted to ask you was, how do you compare, let's say, the vegan vibe and offering and progress in New York, where you currently are, versus Denmark, which is your, kind of your home country? How do you
Yeah,
compare
where
the
I grew up.
two? Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say Denmark is doing very well right now. They have like their own uh, product that is called like naturally, which makes a lot of vegan products. They make all these vegan products, and it's super cool, and they are really good. They started out by doing non-dairy milks and all that kind of stuff, and now they're doing all sorts of things, ice creams and pizzas and all that kind of fun stuff.
Wow.
Um, but when I first went vegan, there was nothing. It was everything they had tasted horrible. It was like these kind of weird tofu sausages that was just like not good, and that was like tough. But then yeah, so I lived in Berlin at that time and kind of traveled back and forward to see my family. Um, but I think back when the year I lived in Germany was the year where veganism really came to Denmark. So when I moved back, I was shocked. I was like, whoa, they have all these things. So I think now they're doing very well. I think what could be better is more vegan options at restaurants. It's often no options at all, or it's a completely vegan restaurant, which is hard to go to if you don't have like a vegan family. Like if you have people in, who's not vegan and stuff like that, don't want to eat that way. Um, so yeah, that could be definitely be better, like more restaurants with vegan options. But the big cities is Copenhagen and another big city called Aarhus are like they're doing fine. Um, so that is really great. And New York is, of course, a vegan paradise. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just remember like sitting in Europe, just looking at all these, you know, American Instagrammer and YouTubers, and we're like, whoa, you guys have some great stuff. And now I'm finally here, and I can get that great stuff too.
Yeah, yeah.
And that just makes me so happy and excited every day. I don't take that for granted at
Yeah.
all.
No, New York is just like such like a gold standard almost. And it's just getting better every day, at least from what I can see on social media.
Yeah,
It's just getting better, every day. So, and even in like, smaller parts of, well, what the boroughs, it's really like ramping up. Even I think Brooklyn seems to be also quite, vegan friendly and so forth. So,
yeah, they definitely are.
mhm.
I think one of the best bakeries I have ever been to is actually in Brooklyn,
Oh,
called Clementine Bakery, and their cinnamon rolls is some of the best thing I've ever tasted.
yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a lot of like the vegan stuff going on, and it's very easy to find. Of course, it is pretty expensive, which is also is in Denmark, so there's not really any change there. Um, but just like having a grocery store like Trader Joe's is amazing. They have so many good vegan options, and it's super affordable. Um, so that is, yeah, I couldn't be happier.
Awesome. Now, when I visited Copenhagen twice, and I was
Great.
not vegan yet. I was pescatarian, so I was still eating seafood and dairy and eggs because I had ditched what we call meat over 20 years ago. But I was still
Yeah.
eating seafood, like I said, dairy and eggs. And so when I was there, obviously Denmark's very famous for fish, so I was eating a lot of salmon.
Mm,
But I am wondering if, like you're saying, there are not a lot of pure vegan restaurants there, but I'm wondering if, because I mean, I know for me, like I would customize dishes, I would just
yeah.
say, this instead of that, so I guess that's kind of what we have to do as vegans. If we want to go to traditional restaurants, we
Yeah.
have to do a lot of customization.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And one more thing about Denmark, and then we'll move on to the next topic, and that is I really want to go to Skagen because I want to see the two seas that
Yeah.
meet.
That is beautiful. I've been there a couple of times. It's amazing.
That's where I want to go. So,
Yeah.
all right. So let's go to the next topic. And by the way, thanks so much for joining, guys. Whoever's still on, and if you would just let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments, and also your questions for Josephine, that would be cool. So let's go to what was your inspiration behind creating your Instagram page?
Yeah. So I think that was like pretty basic because what I got inspiration from was other vegan Instagrammers. So, I was like, oh, I want to do that too. It looks so fun. It looks so glamorous. It looks so crazy. I want to do that too. And that was kind of like my inspiration. I actually had this page about twice. I opened one last year, which was exactly the same as I do now, where I also opened up a blog. But after half a year, I actually closed that down because I felt like it was too much work and too much stress. And then I completely took, yeah, a 6 month break from social media, which was super nice. And then, yeah, in January I opened it up my new account. Um, And then I just decided, okay, I'm not gonna have a blog because that is a lot of work to have both. And then yeah, now because I had that 6 month break without Instagram, that was just like so nice. So now I just know how to like yeah dose my social media intake. So I never feel like it's getting too much.
Yeah, because you don't want to be stressed about it,
No,
and
no,
you
no,
don't
not at
want
all.
to be like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have to do this even though I don't want to do it. Because,
Yeah,
I don't know if it's true, but some people say that like that energy is actually visible to others. And
yeah, for sure it is.
yeah, again, I don't know who's able to fake it or if they're or not. I don't
No,
really know how that goes. But I have heard like if you're not authentic, then people will see that and it will
yeah,
come through in your energy and what you're communicating. So I applaud anyone who feels they need a little vacation or whatever
yeah,
digital detox because I
yeah,
feel like a lot of people say, like you said, they come back stronger. They come back with more focus, with more of a purpose, and then
yeah.
they just see like, hey, I can do this now. I know where I'm going. I know what my goals are, and I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, I definitely needed a purpose, and I'm still struggling with that because I'm mainly doing it because I see it as the best form of vegan activism to just show people delicious food because people are like so afraid of like food they don't know, and that is why so many people won't go vegan. And I it's maybe hypocritic, but for me, being a really vegan activist who's out there with like all the pictures and all the facts, that is just too much for my mental health to handle. Um, it's not because I'm in denial of what is going on with the horrible industries out there, but I just cannot see that every day, and I cannot be faced with that every day. That is too much for me. But I love that people are doing it, and it's very very important fight. Um, but yeah, so for me, it's a very easy part of vegan activism, and just show people non-vegan, like show non-vegans vegan food and how delicious it can look like. And then the creative aspect is definitely the most fun part. Like I think that's when I came back with, I was like, oh, I just want to be creative. I want to have a creative project, and that's why I do it, because it's so fun. It's fun coming up with like stuff to cook, and it's fun to make it look good, and it's fun to take pictures, and it's fun to edit them, and it's fun to interact with all the like nice people out there. So yeah, that's definitely like my biggest motivation. It's just the creative part of it.
So I think you've taken care of that question. What inspires your recipe?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say that I also feel like we each have a role to play when it comes to, in this conversation, we're talking about veganism. And I
Yeah.
feel like I also am very sensitive to images, and like even when I'm
Yeah.
watching a documentary, like I'm crying, I have to hide my
Yeah.
eyes sometimes, and it's a lot. And so for me, also I feel like I am not very well equipped to be on the front lines of some of the cruel, gruesome um experiences that our non-human animals are going through. And so for me, I choose other ways to try to communicate with people and talk to them about cruelty,
Yeah.
and switching from the standard diet to a vegan diet. And so I can relate to you, and again, I applaud you for being so honest. I can relate to you. And similarly, with this whole situation now with the global pandemic, some vegans are speaking out about various very sensitive, quote unquote, topics. And I personally don't feel comfortable, like, I guess, being very critical of certain people. And so I
No.
just prefer to just do whatever I'm doing. Whatever you guys see on my page, that's what I'm doing. But I'm not doing some of the other, talking points. I'm not really covering some of the other talking points about the pandemic because I don't feel that's my role. I feel that other people
Yeah.
do it extremely well. they are very tough and they can take whatever comes at them in terms of, comments, criticism, in those particular, on those particular topics. So again, I just feel like we all have our own roles to play, and it's really not up to us to we cannot be all things to all people.
No, that is completely true. And yeah, it's just I personally don't believe that angry, judgmental um, energy will ever change anyone's mind. Um, so I just try to be as positive and nice about it as I can. So
Yeah, and I think that's no worries. I think that takes us to our next set of questions.
yeah,
And that is, so you as a young person, how do you handle being a vegan among your peers who are not vegan? How does that all tie in? And also the next point is naysayers, critics, skeptics. You're like, oh my gosh, what do you guys,
yeah,
what do you mean you're vegan? What do you mean you don't eat meat? What do you mean blah, blah, blah? So how
yeah.
do you handle your peers and then kind of like the general negativity or resistance?
So I think I have handled it very differently. The first couple of maybe up to a year, I was actually kind of ashamed being vegan. I was, so just so afraid of like telling people that I was vegan because I was so afraid of like them judging me or them saying anything and then I didn't know what to answer back or just like have an unpleasant conversation or just it's just like not nice in any way. So at the beginning, I just tried to like not tell people except if we had something to do with food. Um, and then I realized that people were actually pretty nice about it, and most people that I'm around are just like nice and open-minded people. So it wasn't actually not a big deal. And my family has been so open to it. Actually, my mom has turned vegan as well. My sister as well. My other sister is vegetarian.
Oh my gosh. Well, we,
So
we need to get her. We need to get
yeah,
her.
I know.
Sister, if you're listening, please, please ditch the dairy, ditch the eggs,
Yeah,
please, please. You have so many options made of plants,
yeah,
amazing, cruelty-free, yummy egg substitutes and dairy substitutes. There's just an abundance of options. But anyway, I'll, I'll,
yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox, leave your sister alone, and I'll take it back to you.
Yeah, but I think, she's only 16, so I think it's harder in that age. Like, I could not have gone vegan at 16, and I tried to go vegetarian at 16, but, like, I know it was first when I was an adult, I was actually able to actually take that, like, that choice seriously. So I feel like it's okay. You just have to grow up, and, like, when you get older, it would be easier. But yeah, okay, so, yeah, so how I deal with, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
okay.
people like your peers your age and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of like
yeah.
the general population out there.
Yeah. So I think most people are very open-minded about it, and I don't think I have met any super negative thing to my face, at least. Um, there's like some people who just ask me, but what do you do for that? I guess like one guy who was like, "Oh, so don't you take medicine?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I take medicine." Um, I don't think veganism, for me personally, veganism is not more important than my own health. Um, and if I have to have a vaccine with some kind of egg in it, and that's the only option, of course I will take that vaccine. That's just like my personal belief, but so I think that's the only thing where I was like, oh, I don't know how to answer that because I don't think at that point I didn't even know that in lots of just like medicine there's like dairy in or um, yeah, all these things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so luckily I'm not really been meeting with much negativity at all. I think the hardest part is just still being around a lot of people who are not vegan. That is just hard because it's hard that they just live a lifestyle that I just think that I just personally think is so wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah,
phone.
it's okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. Yeah, because we are the exception to the rule. We're different.
yeah.
Yeah.
And most people just close their eyes and they just don't see it as I see it or you see it, and they just do what they have always done because that's just the easiest thing to do. Just keep living the life you've always been living. But yeah, and it's just like so hard when it's like people you know and you love, and they are very smart and intelligent people, but they just don't care, I guess, about animals' life, and that's just like that's hard.
Yeah, and I think some people feel powerless. Like they don't have the
Yeah,
power. They feel this is my culture, this is what I grew up with. They say we need animals for protein, for calcium, for omegas. That's what they say. And so, they must be right, and you guys must be wrong. And no way. There's no, I was on a podcast, sorry, I was on an Instagram live the other day, and someone in the chat section said, "Oh no, uh it's not allowed for them to be cruel to animals in animal factory farming. Oh no, 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 that's not allowed." And I thought, wow, this person just doesn't understand. And
yeah,
I could relate because as I was saying earlier, like when I first saw images of the way cows are treated, in the dairy industry, I thought, no way, that can't be true. There's just no way
yeah,
that would be allowed. And so I think, it just takes a lot of education, lots of different sources, lots of different documentaries and reports for us to say, okay, yeah, well, they can't all be making this up. Like it has to be true. It's not just one source. Now I've seen it
yeah,
in 2 or 3 or 4 different documentaries, so it has to be true.
yeah, and but it also is very privileged to be vegan. I'm never not afraid to say that. You have to first of all know something about food, know something about nutrition. You have to be able to budget in a way to afford it. Um, and you also just have to be curious and open-minded to try new things and live a different lifestyle and constantly being strong enough to be asked about your life choice. And that's just like not all people who can do that. And yeah, so I'm definitely aware of like that it is a privilege being vegan. And I am very privileged because I'm young and I live in New York City and I can afford most things. um, and I'm just in a place in my life where I can say, okay, I will, how do you say that? I will prioritize living in a way that aligns with my values, and you know, but it's just like not all people have that possibility, and I also understand that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I think what you're also getting at, besides the what we would call the economic or socioeconomic privilege, I like what you're talking about, that you actually are strong enough at this point in your life journey to be resilient enough to go against the grain, go against the mainstream media and the
Yeah,
standard diet and lifestyle. Because, for example, when I was in my late teens, I was in college and I wanted to be vegetarian. So I was vegetarian when I was at college. I went back home and my inner circle was like, no, 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 you have to eat meat. What are you talking about? You're not eating meat. I was like, no, I don't want to. But I wasn't strong enough to stand up for myself.
yeah, yeah,
And it
exactly.
took me a few years, when I was on my own.
Yeah,
And I actually started for health reasons where I ditched meat, but I still was eating like eggs, for example. I was eating fish, so I was more of a pescatarian, but I ditched dairy because I'm lactose intolerant and because I had understood at that point, oh yeah, yeah, there's something, meat and dairy are kind of the same. They come from the same sources. So yeah, 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 I
yeah,
have to like switch those out. Now, back then, 20 years ago, there were not, like 20 different plant milks on the supermarket shelf. So
no,
again, you do what you have to do. You just make the best
yeah,
of it. But I really like that you're bringing up the part about actually being strong enough, and yeah, you included under the umbrella of privilege, but I think you're just like evolved enough and you've gone through so many iterations of trying to do it and,
Yeah,
feeling resistance or feeling like you just didn't have, the resources in the marketplace to do it. And it wasn't until you went, let's say, to Berlin, you're like, oh my gosh, I can do it now. It's so easy. I have all these options here. Yeah, I can do it. So I really like that
yeah,
you brought up that part about privilege, but specifically your personal ability to resist.
yeah. I'm always thinking about people who are not like to cook. Like, if you don't like to cook, I think it would be so hard to be vegan. Because a lot of the food that tastes really good is something that you have to cook and that you have to know something about spices and putting taste together and like which vegetables goes good with this and like all these things. So yeah, I do think it must be a challenge being a vegan and don't like to cook or don't really know how to. And also just I'm like so lucky that my husband he went vegan with like almost when he met me and he was very open to it, but not having a vegan partner must be so difficult. Um, and I think I've heard that most the biggest reason for people not to what to say to stop being vegan is actually when they get a partner who is not vegan. Um, that should be like yeah the biggest reason why people quit veganism because you were so close to a person who not have the same values as you do. Um, so yeah, I think that must be super tough.
I, I,
And I
yeah, I agree.
yeah
I'm
I really
glad you brought that up. Yeah.
yeah
No, go ahead,
yeah,
please.
I would just yeah, I just said I really respect people who can live in a vegan non-vegan relationship. That is super super strong that people can do that.
Yeah, there is a vegan who I follow on social media, and she sometimes expresses frustration
Yeah,
because her spouse, he, uh, you know, consumes vegan food when he's at home because she does
yeah,
the cooking. However, when he's not at home, he is an omnivore for his
yeah,
diet, and you can sense the frustration, that she feels because obviously this is beyond diet. This is a whole lifestyle for her. This is an ethical, this is an ethical, motivation that she has, and so it is quite interesting, like you say, to see the struggle that it can create.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We have Eat with Geets. Hi there, Eat with Geets. He or she says, I always thought cows naturally give milk and didn't know they only gave milk when they were pregnant. Yeah. That's because they don't want us to know that.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, that's how I see it. Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I'm just going down here. Just go down. Let's see. What do we have here? Had a few people. Yep. Well, hi everybody who's joining. Please, if you have comments or questions for Josephine, please put them down in the comment section below. And meanwhile, so you've kind of covered the whole issue of like the critics and the naysayers, and you really haven't had so much of that, thank goodness, I guess. So that's pretty good.
No.
So how do you approach vegan curious, vegan friendly newbies, non-vegans who want to start their vegan journey? What are some suggestions that you give to those folks if they come to you and say, "Oh, I've been thinking about this vegan thing. I don't really know
Yeah.
what to do."
I think I know that most people are not gonna go vegan overnight, even though that works for me. But I'm also a very extreme person in many ways, and I can do a lot of things pretty easily, and I know a lot of people can't. So what I always say is just to start slow, start changing out your milk when you go to Starbucks. Go get the soy milk instead. Try the vegan burger at Burger King. Like try all these small things, or if you are most people are so concerned about the thing when oh you are eating out or you're eating at your grandparents place or you're being invited to these things, or someone brings muffins to work or something like that. And I think, um, and then I just tell them, then why don't you just start having a vegan household? Then just be vegan at home and then eat whatever you feel comfortable with when you're out, because you will still make a huge impact just doing that, because most of the things we eat are in our own homes. And I definitely think that, okay, then you ate a carrot cake or whatever when you go and visit your grandmother, and yeah, that's not gonna, it's not the end of the world in any way. So I think that's a really good approach to it. And then when I believe that when you start eating a lot of vegan food and that's just starting to be what you do, then slowly you just don't want non-vegan food. It's just like, no, I don't really want that muffin with eggs, and that's just kind of like, well, I just don't want that. And then it's getting easier to say no if you don't want to. Like really inside you, you say, oh, I don't want to eat that. Except if you somehow still crave it a little bit, then just go ahead and get it. Um, yeah, I think that's what I try to tell people.
No, I love that because you're doing the kind of progress over perfection route, which I
Definitely.
which I also subscribe to because a lot of times people think, oh well, I failed today. I'm a loser. I'm not a vegan anymore. I can't do this. And I feel like, what you're saying is, and I've said this to someone, recently. I said every step helps. Every little bit helps. We are reducing the demand for animals with every choice, almost every choice we make when it comes to consumerism, when it comes to where you
Yeah.
spend your money, your energy, etc. And like the example you gave, you go for a latte, ask for plant milk, ditch dairy, go for the plant milk, like you're saying. And it's so wonderful you said, make a vegan household, because it's true. And especially now with this whole global pandemic,
Yeah.
many people are eating at home more than they are outside of the home.
Yeah.
And I was recently in it's like a kitchen supply store. And one customer was saying to the salesperson, oh my gosh, you guys are so busy. And the salesperson said, oh yeah, we are way busier now than we were before all of this pandemic happened, because people are cooking more at home. So they
Yeah.
are selling all kinds of appliances and gadgets and what have you,
Yeah.
because people are spending more time at home. So I really, really love what you were saying, about make a vegan household is basically what I'm picking up on.
Yeah.
And not, beating yourself up if you find yourself in a position where you did consume the carrot cake, you did consume, a muffin or what have you. But I also love the part where you're saying, you get to the point, I think, where you're like, no, I'm not doing that. And it happened to me. I was in an airport, and all of the options were non-vegan, were standard, except there was a bagel. And the bagel obviously was like water and flour and I guess salt. And I was like,
Mm.
well, I'll just have one of those then, because I just can't deal with all these other options
Yeah.
here. And so I can really relate to what you're saying. Like, before I would have said, oh, there's a croissant and it has butter and it has, eggs, for example, and I think milk. I don't know what their recipes are, but before I would say, okay, yeah, I'm running for my flight. Yeah, I don't have a vegan meal on the plane. Yeah, I'm gonna grab a couple, I'm gonna grab two croissant here. And yes, I'm failing today. I'm not sticking to, what I really want to do. But at the same time, I have a transatlantic flight. I really don't want to go hungry and I don't know what else to do. So,
Yeah.
in the past, I would just buy two croissants and eat them and just hop on the plane. So I can
Yeah.
definitely see your point. But I saw in my own I guess energy, I was like, no, 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 I don't want to do that anymore. So I just like look around at
Yeah.
different places in the airport, like they have a plain bagel, that has water and flour and salt. Okay, I'll have one of those. So
Yeah.
I think you do we do eventually evolve close to that point, or at that point we're like, no, 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 I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you just, I think it comes very natural to you. I don't even think it's such a big deal. And like, it's also this idea of like failing veganism, I think we should go away from, because you cannot fail and you cannot win veganism. Like, that's just not how it works. You should just live as vegan as you can, and then if you in some ways find that like, oh, in this particular thing I just cannot do it, then fine, go do you. Um, but the more vegan you can live, the better, and just be proud of that you can live 90% vegan instead of 100% vegan if that's like your approach. And then I think at over time you will start just living 100% vegan, because you just start to, it just starts to be easier, and the more you know about it, the more you want to be vegan. But at the beginning I definitely think it's a good idea to just take it pretty relaxed, especially if you are really new to it and you don't know any vegans and you don't know anything.
I mean, you're basically saying it's not a competition, and I agree with that. I do find, to be honest, and I have spoken about this in videos. I have said that I do feel that there is some competition in the vegan world sometimes. um, you were talking earlier about, cooking. If a person is not great at, with recipes and cooking, then it might be hard. But then you also have, some of us who are more attracted to a raw vegan lifestyle at this point. And then you have like the people who are like, high raw, something something raw or whatever, and then cooked, and then whole food plant based. So I do see some
Yeah,
criticism within the vegan community. And I obviously we cannot eliminate all of the competition, but I think it would be really awesome if we did. because,
yeah, yeah. There is a lot of like problematic thing in the vegan community as well, and I think you, again, are just ignorant if you as a vegan said that it's perfect, because it's definitely not, and there is so much judgment going on, which is so stupid. But luckily that's just like not the people like that's just not the people I'm surrounded by at all. I feel my followers and the people I follow are all just pretty cool, normal people who just eat plant based, and that's just, how it is.
yeah, no, I hear you, and I love that you're so upbeat about it. I love that. I love that. So, I want to go to our next topic, but before that, I want you to expand a bit on your recipes, because you describe your meals in a very interesting way on your on your profile, and you say something like lazy meals. So
Yeah.
talk to us a bit more, please, about, more about the inspiration behind your meals, and why do you consider them to be lazy meals?
They are definitely lazy, because I guess they're not. They could be lazier. But I honestly just almost always cook the same kind of meals. Um, I almost, when I go grocery shopping, I literally just buy the same things all the time. I eat the same food all the time. And then I just try to make it look a little different on the pictures. But if you look at my feed, it's pretty much the same kinds of food. And it never takes me more than 30 minutes to make,
That's
because
good.
I'm just pretty busy and I just don't want to, you know, I stir fries is like the most kind of foods I make.
So yummy. Oof.
Yeah, and it's just super easy. And I think I'm so lucky and privileged that I have a mom that just taught me how to cook from when I was a child. So I just know, again, I just have this understanding in my head how to make very simple things taste a lot or amazing, or yeah, just like have a lot of taste in them. So it's pretty easy for me to say, oh, okay, I have to make this bowl. What I'm gonna put in it to for it to be nutritious and just taste super good, which is most important to me is the taste. But of course, I also need the benefit of all the nutritional benefits. Yeah, so I just make what I crave, which is almost the same kind of foods. I'm definitely way more like Whole Foods vegan, I think. where my husband, he loved mock meats.
Ah, yeah.
So I think we really try to like find a balance between that, and I think actually maybe that's the healthiest way to eat, very balanced. Um, so yeah, but I would say they are pretty lazy. I feel like sometimes I look at my pictures and I'm like, whoa, this looks so good, and I feel like I'm cheating because it literally took me like 20 minutes to make.
No, but I wouldn't call that cheating. I call that
No,
intelligence
maybe.
and creativity. And I would
Yeah,
also say that, you might think it's like nothing special, but you're inspiring people. You're
yeah,
motivating people. I've said this before. I am very surprised by the number of people who have no idea what to make for a meal.
yeah,
And I see comments, in the Instagram lives that I attend. I'm not hosting them, or I'm not a guest, but I see so many comments. Do you have any recipes? Do you know what to make? I don't know where to start. I don't know what to eat. And it's just
yeah,
incredible, like the number of people who really don't know where to start. So I think, like,
yeah,
just by you sharing what you personally are making this food, and you're personally eating it, and your husband, and I think you're really inspiring people, and how, not everyone, we talked about roles earlier. Not everyone is creative.
yeah,
Not everyone feels comfortable in the kitchen. Some people didn't grow up like you did, with your
yeah,
mom, bless her, showing you the ropes, and teaching you how to cook. A lot of people don't have that.
definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, it is very interesting. But yeah, yeah, I definitely, yeah. I'm very lucky and very privileged that I like cooking and it's so natural for me because it really is. I never think more about it. I never look up recipes. I'm really the kind of person who never cooks with recipes because they more stress me out than they are helpful. And I don't know why. But that's something I should improve on because then again, I kind of always make the same kind of foods or the same kind of style because that's what I know and
Yeah,
that's
it's
what I like.
okay.
But yeah, it's of course it's okay. So once in a while, if I'm like really crazy, I make something with a recipe, but that is very rare.
No, no, no.
Most
But
of it is just
and I think recipes are good for some people, because again,
yeah,
not everyone has the imagination, the creativity, to test things out, and I'll throw some of that in there, and I'll just throw it against the wall, see if it sticks, that kind of thing, right?
yeah,
So not everybody feels comfortable doing that, so it's just awesome that you are so adventurous in your cooking. And I think I can relate to you, because I think, like, sometimes recipes seem to be very restrictive, very kind of limited in some ways. But of course, you can always tweak the recipe, so you can just put
yeah.
your own stuff in it. And one more point I want to ask you about recipes, because you mentioned earlier spices. So how much of a, I guess, of a role do spices play in your cuisine?
A lot. I love spicy food. Um, and I love food that just have a lot of taste. Um, and salty foods, savory foods. So yeah, I definitely use a lot of spices. But I'm also very Danish in a way that I don't know that many spices. And if I should describe the Danish kitchen, it would be think about everything where you just put salt and pepper, and that's the only spices you use. It's like the Danish cuisine is not, yeah, it doesn't have that many crazy spices as Indian food or Mexican food has all the good foods. But yeah, I definitely do use a lot of spices and garlic and onion and yeah, all that kind of good stuff.
I'm with you. Variety is a spice of life. I'm with you on that. Totally.
Yeah.
So tell us, we have about 10 minutes left here. Josephine, tell
Yes.
us about your current and future vegan related projects. What are you thinking? What are you doing, and what are you thinking of doing?
Yeah. Um, yeah, this is something I actually try not to think super much about because it kind of stresses me out. Because again, it's like I feel like I should have a purpose. Like, can I just have this Instagram account where I just constantly post my meals without having a bigger dream or a bigger purpose? Is that just too basic? I don't know. So I think I have to I have to start maybe do a little bit, be a little bit more serious about my Instagram, and show people more about who I am as a person, because that's just the kind of profiles I really like to follow. And I think I need to make the kind of content for my profile that I really like to see other people doing. And the profiles I keep looking at are those who are sharing personal stuff, and I would really like to be better at that, and just also just make stories where I talk. For me, talking is just so, it's just such a, it's just so, how, what is the word? I think it's because I'm not a native English speaker, and I know my English is very well, but
Don't worry about that. Please don't worry.
yeah,
That's the least of
I
your work.
know.
No, 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 no. We have to pause here. Please, please, please. That is the least of your worries, Josephine. I assure you. I assure you. Okay. Don't hide your gifts. Share your gifts with everyone. Don't worry about, listen, some people say, oh, I don't want to do it. I have an accent. Oh, I don't want to do it. I don't, I don't, my English is not perfect. Who cares? No,
Yeah, yeah.
nobody cares.
You are completely right, and that way I'm also my own biggest enemy in any way, because I should just be so much more confident about the stuff I post. I always post stuff with like a beating heart, and I'm like, oh, probably people are not gonna like this, and then everyone just always likes this, and I just have to really be more confident in myself with my whole Instagram thing.
Yes.
But I also think it's a very Danish thing to. We have this thing in Denmark where we are kind of afraid of being different and afraid of standing out and just do something that most people don't do. So I definitely have that so strong in me where I'm just like, who do I think I am? Like, who would ever want to look at my food? Like, yeah, again, who do I think I am? But it's so stupid because, you know, it's just me talking myself down, which I should not do. So I think, yeah, I have to be more personal on my Instagram, and start sharing more about, maybe more about like kind of zero waste tips. I'm also into that, but I don't really share that much about that. Just, yeah, show people how to be less plastic, and just use my profile for more, maybe more important stuff than just sharing my sandwiches. I don't know. Even though that's also important.
Yes.
It's about finding the balance that I don't really know what to do about that. It's hard.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not here to give you answers, but I applaud you for sharing your recipes because number one, we have to eat. Everyone has to
Yeah.
eat. Number
Yeah, that's true.
two, as I said, not everyone is creative in the kitchen. Not everybody feels confident. Some people need you to hold their hands and tell them
Yeah.
one, two, three, ABC. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, you have your strengths, other people have their strengths. So I personally, if I were you, I wouldn't worry about it. But I think what you're getting at is like a cultural difference where, some people are loud and proud, and other people are a little bit more reserved, a little bit more confident, a little bit more conservative.
Yeah.
So we do have different cultures around the world. Obviously, it would be boring if we were all the same. So I totally understand it. But I really would just encourage you to just follow your passions. And if you have, like you say, certain aspects that you're, really passionate about, like zero waste you mentioned, I think it's all for the greater good. And
Yeah.
like just share your passions and your gifts with everyone so they can learn from you too, just how you learn from other people. You're inspired by other people. People are inspired by you too, so that's what I would say.
Yeah. That is a good advice, and I know that is the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah, yeah. And guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. We have about 5, 6 minutes left. If you have questions for Josephine, just pop them down below in the comment section, please. So, Josephine, tell everybody how they can contact you or collaborate with you. What's the best way to reach you?
You can just send me a DM from my profile, or I also have my mail. My email is. You can also just send me a mail if you would rather do that, or comment on my pictures. I always like take the time to answer people, and yeah, I try my best to like answer every comment because it means so much to me that people want to take their time and comment on my pictures. And I always try to do my best to also engage so much with my followers' content. I like that's definitely what I use most time on Instagram. It's just to look what my what. Oh wait, what am I doing? Uh, oh wait.
You're
um,
back.
yeah. So yeah, I definitely use what I use the most time on is definitely just to look at what my followers are making, which I'm also following. Yeah, like I use so much time on looking at my Instagram feed and just be like, wow, everyone is just so good at making all these delicious meals, and I'm always so surprised about that. Yeah, how creative everyone is. It's such a great community to be a part of.
It is. And it's a two-way street. It's a relationship. So I'm really happy, to be honest, that you're saying that. Because I don't hear that a lot. Like I don't hear people saying, they're gonna go check out what their followers are doing. And it's so interesting because when I get, the little symbol that says, okay, you have comments or likes or whatever, I actually go down the list and like, okay, let me click on this person. Let me see what
Yeah, exactly.
let me see what
You know,
they're
I'm just
doing.
yeah, I'm just so curious. I'm such a curious person, so I'm like, oh, who are you who commented on my picture? I'm gonna go in and stalk the hell out of your profile because who are you?
Okay, well, I don't actually call it stalking, but that's probably what I'm doing. I'm
That's
probably
maybe a little
doing that.
extreme.
Yeah, no, I know you're joking. I know you're joking, but I do that too. Like I tell you, I go down the list and I click on that person. Oh, okay, they're doing da 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 da, and then I comment or like or whatever. Oh, da da da. So I can relate in that sense. So
Yeah.
we just have like 2-3 minutes left there, Josephine. So first of all, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're juggling a lot, and it was just awesome to chat with you, find
Yeah.
out more about your vegan journey and all of your experiences. So what I would ask you, if you just close us out here, tell us whatever you want to tell us to close us out here. Just wrap it up and put a bow on it for us, please.
Whoa, that's hard. Um, I think I just want to say that yeah, 95% vegan is definitely better than trying to be 100% vegan and then fail and not be vegan at all. And I would also say what I'm super passionate about is like vegan is not a health competition. Veganism is not a competition about who can lose most weight or who can get the cleanest skin or who can make the most beautiful smoothie balls. It's honestly just about to live an ethical lifestyle and just live in a way where you're aligning with your values and taking care of like our planet and all the animals on our planet and don't vote with your money like yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, honestly, because I really do think you wrapped it up. You brought in the animals, you brought in the planet. Obviously, all of that affects our health as humans as well. So I'm really glad you you finished on that
Yeah,
point, because I mean I think that's really the thrust of it. Those are the objectives, at the end of the day, regardless of,
yeah,
like you say, how much weight a person lost, how beautiful their skin is, how wonderful they feel, etc. At the end of the day, I'm really happy that you brought up our human and non-human animals in our planet. So thank you so much, Josephine. It's giving me the countdown and it's saying I have 59 seconds left. So I am going to close this out, save it to my feed and stories. And I want to thank you again. I want to thank everybody who joined, and take good care, everybody. Bye bye.
thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay.